Hello and welcome to a zzZzZ. Chess. Pawn to e4 and pawn to c5. The first two moves of our game today. And this game, I think, tells of the future. I was quite confident in my pick for the future world champion, the future dominating player. I was thinking that Ramesh Babu Pragnanandar, who is playing in the candidates tournament and who is 18 years old and who is this amazing chess prodigy from India, I was pretty sure that he was going to be the next Magnus Carlsen. And I was aware of the player with the white pieces, who in this position played knight to c3. And that player is Abhimanyu Mishra, who is 14 years old. In this game, he's playing in the Grand Swiss tournament against the legendary Vasilly Ivanchuk, who played pawn to d6. This is a classical game, so they have hours to think for their moves, and it's going to be a very precise game. And as I said, I was aware of Abhimanyu Mishra because he became a grandmaster and broke the record. He was 12 years old and I think 5 months, breaking the former record with some guy who became a grandmaster at 12 years and 7 months. So he has the world record for youngest grandmaster. He played pawn to d4 here, signifying an open Sicilian. The 54-year-old Vasilly Ivanchuk played the only real move in the position, c takes d. So it's an open Sicilian. Of course, we see knight takes d4 as a response to this. The reason that I didn't put that much stock into this record that Abhimanyu Mishra made at only at the tender age of 12 years, becoming a grandmaster, was that there had been some talk, notably Jan Nepomniachtchi, the twice World Chess Champion finalist in the Classical World Chess Championship, also finalist in World Rapid Chess Championship, also finalist in the Fischer Random or 960. We call him Jan II because he never quite got there, but obviously very strong player. He had tweeted about this record saying, this may be not completely legit, like these tournaments that Abhimanyu Mishra is playing in are not rigged exactly, but they are norm tournaments. They are meant to create these titles for these young players. His father, Abhimanyu Mishra's father, who controls all his social media because he's just a teenager, Mishra, he seemed like, if you know the sad story of Garakamsky, whose father was very, very strict and very, very demanding, and I just got this vibe about Mishra that he was sort of made to be a prodigy by some pushy parent, and that he may not be the real deal. And when I say real deal, I mean, of course, obviously he's super strong to become a grandmaster at that age, but is he in the category of Alireza, of Prague, of Gukesh, of all these? I didn't think so. And then some things happened. He played this game, and Vasilly Ivanchuk played knight to f6, attacking the pawn. This is all very standard. Mishra played pawn to c3, defending the pawn, and now Vasilly Ivanchuk, he can go a bunch of ways. And if you know anything about Vasilly Ivanchuk, you know that he plays every single opening. I once heard Peter Heine Nielsen, who is the trainer of Magnus Carlsen. He was working back then as the trainer and coach for Vishwanathan Anand, who was world champion back then, and he had Anand had to face Ivanchuk in the next day in some tournament, and it was Peter Heine Nielsen's job then to go and prepare and look at all Ivanchuk's games and then give a file to Anand saying, okay, here is, he can play this opening or that opening or this opening, and I want you to do this against that opening, I want you to do this against that stuff, which is completely normal. That's all top players have these seconds or coaches. He works for Magnus now, Peter. And Peter got quite depressed when he got to his hotel room to start preparing against Ivanchuk, because every new game he looked at that Ivanchuk had played, he had played a different opening. And he ended up preparing 16 different openings. He gave the file to Anand saying, there are 16 different things. And I want you to look at this giant file. I worked all night. I haven't slept. And this is my preparation against everything that Ivanchuk has played the last 3 months. And they sat down, and I prepared, and then he sat down to play Ivanchuk, and Ivanchuk, of course, played a new opening, a 17th opening. So Anand was not prepared at all. And that's just Ivanchuk. He's just crazy like that. You can't, he could even play the dragon here, which is not seen in classical chess at the very super grandmaster level much these days. It's an opening more for you or me, but it's a great opening for us, but maybe not here. But Ivanchuk surely could play it. But he just played knight c6, which is much more standard. And we see the Richter rouser from Abhimanyu Mishra with bishop to g5. Now, why did I change my mind about Abhimanyu Mishra aside from this game? This game is beautiful, it's amazing. But if you see, okay, Ivanchuk lost to somebody lower rated, and you don't look at the game, that doesn't necessarily tell you anything, because Ivanchuk, besides for his crazy opening repertoire where he can just play any opening, is also known for the quite curious fact that he can, on any given day, he can win or lose against anybody. He can literally beat Magnus Carlsen even at 54 years old. And he can also lose to a kid. You just don't know what version of Ivanchuk is going to show up at the board. Is it this absolute monstrous genius player who is just unbeatable and will invent new concepts over the board and just play chess that every other super grandmaster is just going to study for the next week? Or is it the other version of Ivanchuk that will just blunder? You don't know. So, okay, I heard that Mishra won this game, but I hadn't looked at the game, so I didn't put too much into that. And then I heard him on the excellent C Squared podcast with Fabiano Caruana, who's a chess super grandmaster and who is one of the best in the world. He's the second highest rated right now, I think, and he has this amazing podcast with his second, Chris Carrillia, and they were interviewing Abhimanyu Mishra, and I'll put the link in the description. In this position, we see pawn to e6. That's the main move in the Richter rouser, Sicilian. And we are going to see a surprise from Mishra in just a short while, but I'll just say about that interview. So Abhimanyu Mishra is 14 years old now. He's been a grandmaster for about 2 years. He is 2600 on the rating list, meaning that he is 100 points above what you need to be to become a grandmaster. He's looking to become a super grandmaster quite soon. And he's 14 years old. And I don't know if you have listened to how 14-year-olds usually speak, but they can be very, very smart, and they can think very, very fast, but they don't have a lot of life experience naturally, meaning they are not very mature usually, and they're not very, very well rounded. And you can sort of sense that even when they're very smart. And with chess prodigies, they tend to, if you watch an interview with, say, Vincent Keimer, who's one, like he's also became grandmaster very young, and he's like this chess prodigy. If you watch an interview when he was 13, 14, 15 years old, he was very shy. And I think that was what I was expecting, because naturally, if you are the youngest grandmaster in chess history, you cannot have done much in life besides practicing chess, right? Right? That's where he really surprised me, Mishra. This move he played right now is not the surprise. It's queen d2, lining up with the bishop. This is very, very standard. And pawn to a6 from Ivanchuk. All of this has been played like thousands of times. It's very popular at the grandmaster level. It's a very solid way to play for black. But the next move was a surprise. And also in the podcast, he surprised me a lot. It was the first time I really took the time out to really listen to him. And it's almost 2 hours of them talking. And he was so well spoken. He was so mature, humble, reflected, and had this really pragmatic attitude to chess, but also he seemed to see the beauty in the game and not just be, I have to play chess because my father tells me I have to play chess. It seemed so genuine, and I was floored. I was just, how is this possible? How can he be that good at chess and also be an impressive conversationalist at 14 years old? And then I started looking a bit more, and I looked at this game, and here he played this surprising move. It's anti-positional, but he has made some preparation here, and we can see it in the game. He plays knight takes knight. Okay. So of course this has to be taken, and you're moving the same piece twice, and like this is not how you play this usually, but it is a sideline. We've seen some top grandmasters play it in a couple of games, but there are hundreds of games with just castles instead. And what is it about? Well, it's about that now he's going to castle, Mishra is. This is making a battery here of the queen here and the rook, looking at this pawn. And I think Ivanchuk must have been thinking, well, you dare never know what's actually going through Ivanchuk's head. He is quite a special character. But it must have been a little daunting. You see this unknown entity, this 14-year-old, 2600 rated grandmaster, obviously a genius, and he plays this offbeat line against you. So you know, okay, you're going to be hit by some preparation. So how do you deal with that? And how did Ivanchuk deal with it? Okay, so first of all, he played pawn to d5. And that looks like a mistake if you are like me and just look at the game and you are not a very, very strong player, because you're thinking, I can push this pawn, attack the pinned piece. This knight can't move because it's pinned to the queen, right? But if we do push this pawn, Ivanchuk can push this pawn, and if the bishop drops back, he can push this pawn here and keep the bishop out. So it doesn't work to push this pawn here, actually. Not in this position. Not in this position, at least. So this move is one of the critical tries to prove that white is being a little bit too adventurous with their choice of opening here. And Mishra reacted, showing that he is still in his opening preparation. He played queen to e3. And what does that do? Well, this pawn is still pinned, the rook. Come and take the queen if you try. And you cannot push here because the rook and the queen are still coordinating here, so you would be able to capture that. And the queen is also lining up against the king, pinning this pawn. So if we, as white, will ever be able to capture like this, then we note that this pawn cannot recapture, because that would expose the king. Okay, if you notice that the title of this video is "This Kid is Better Than Magnus," what does that mean? Can a 14-year-old really be better than the world number one? Well, if you compare them now, 32-year-old Magnus Carlsen and 14-year-old Abhimanyu Mishra, no. Magnus will probably win a match against Mishra, but if you compare their progress, then Abhimanyu Mishra has surpassed Magnus Carlsen at every age he has had. He has a higher rating now than Magnus had when he was his age. He became an international master before Magnus became an international master. He became a grandmaster before Magnus became a grandmaster. It is just crazy to me how good this kid is. So it's not like white has a winning position or anything. It's the fact that he gave up this knight allowed this strong center for black, and black should be doing quite well if he can avoid all the traps, because Ivanchuk has probably not seen this position before. Mishra has been analyzing it with his coaches and with his computer and knows all the intricacies of the position. Ivanchuk, jockey. He continues with bishop to e7. And if he gets one more move, he's going to castle out of the center. And then his king will be safe. If he gets to a position where his king is safe, then he will have a significantly better position because he has this very nice center here. And now we see the point of all of Mishra's preparation here. He plays another anti-positional move that you very rarely plays in the Sicilian. He plays bishop takes knight. Okay, but why? Why would you play bishop takes knight? Usually you want to exchange this bishop for the dark squared bishop. The dark squared bishop is the good bishop for black here. So if you can get rid of that, then we will be left with a worse bishop, because this bishop is blocked in by all the pawns on the light squares, where this bishop can roam much more freely. So why would you do that? Well, we are going as white to inflict a positional weakness on black by playing this move here, bishop takes knight. And this has all to do with the queen being lined up against the king. Can you see what happens if we play the natural looking bishop takes bishop? If we play bishop takes bishop, what will white play? Well, if this bishop has moved, then this pawn is pinned here, meaning that it does not support here. And after capturing the knight, which was also supporting here, we have now removed two defenders of the d5 pawn. How many attackers do we have? 1, 2, 3. How many defenders do we have? 1, 2. So if black captures with the bishop, white can play pawn takes pawn, then black plays pawn takes pawn here with the c pawn, and we can actually play rook takes pawn on d5, attacking the queen. This pawn cannot capture it. We are winning a pawn, and we are just crashing through with the tempo against the queen. Therefore, Ivanchuk has to play the correct move, g takes f6, taking with the pawn instead, because if you try to do this whole thing now, notice that this pawn can actually come in and capture, because this bishop blocks the queen's x-ray view to the king, right? So if we play pawn takes pawn, we can actually capture with the e-pawn now. But of course, now there is a gaping hole towards the king side here, making it quite unattractive to castle king side for black. So we have developed a strategy as white, where we make an anti-positional move on the king side, on the queen side, sorry, and then we make an anti-positional move on the king side. But we have, by doing so, we have inflicted this long-term weakness of the king having to stay in the center, because also castling queen side here does not look good either. So now it's the question of, can we follow it up? Can we keep attacking the king as white? And there's a nice move here, bishop to c4. Basically saying, yes, you do have this very strong center, but your queen and your king I'm attacking them with all these pins, so you can't really utilize the center. I can put my bishop here. You cannot come in and capture it, because I will capture your queen with the rook. So he gets a sort of free hand to develop his pieces here, whereas black is more cramped and has to worry about the safety of king and queen. Still, the position is absolutely fine for black. It's not like Abhimanyu Mishra is refuting the Richter-Rauser here, but he is asking very concrete questions that are tough to ask even for a genius such as Vasilly Ivanchuk. Ivanchuk plays bishop to b7, and Abhimanyu Mishra, he of course watches a lot of ASMR chess, and he knows that you have to talk to your pieces and ask them if they are happy with their job, and he's been speaking to the bishop. You are doing something, yeah, you are very happy, and the knight is happy, is doing something, the queen and this rook, they are all very happy. And then he was speaking to the h1 rook, and the h1 rook was complaining that it hadn't really yet been invited to the party, and it wasn't doing something it felt was very meaningful. And of course, it's very important to have a job that you find is meaningful, also in chess, and therefore Abhimanyu Mishra played rook from h to e1. And I'm joking, of course, in that I don't think a 2600 chess player really has time to listen to too much ASMR chess. Also, I don't think he would be able to learn much when he is already a grandmaster. But I mean, if you are, hello. Thanks for checking out the video, and you have really, really impressed me. And I think, yeah, you are together with Pragnananda quite right now. You are my pick for the next dominating world champion, and you have been really impressive to me. Now it's a question of what is black going to do. Chuggy played. Chuggy is the nickname of Ivanchuk. He played pawn to h5. And that's about the h6 square. And it's actually, according to Stockfish, the best move in the position. And it's about this queen could potentially come to h6. And that would cramp black's position even more. So by playing pawn to h5, now the rook is looking at h6. So the queen can't really enter here. This pawn, of course, can also become a weakness later. It's isolated from the rest of its brethren, so it's a bit double-edged, but apparently it's the best move in the position. And now we see the fireworks. We see the fireworks really begin here. So Mishra is saying, okay, I have developed all my pieces. I have a strategic plan. I have inflicted these positional weaknesses. Your king is in the center. Your queen could also be exposed to attacks from the rook. I'm going to crash through. And how? How will he crash through? Well, he's just going to sacrifice some pieces, or one piece at least. So he plays pawn takes pawn. And we see c takes d from Ivanchuk. And if this bishop has to move, let's say it has to go back maybe, then this very nice center is going to be very nice for black. There shouldn't be too many problems. We can play rook to c8, start attacking in normal fashion against the king. But Mishra had this amazing idea to just outcalculate Ivanchuk himself and go for dynamic compensation with an attack against the king. So he sacrifices the bishop. Bishop takes d5. We see pawn takes d5. And it's quite nice. Knight takes d5. Bishop takes d5. It's pretty bloody here on d5. And what's the point? The point here is rook takes d5. So if we take stock at the situation, what's the position? So let's count the pawns. 6 pawns for white, 4 pawns for black. So with regards to pawns, white is up 2 points. But then we have 2 rooks versus 2 rooks and queen versus queen. That all cancels out. And then we have this bishop on e7 worth 3 points. So black is up material here. White has sacrificed material. But it looks nice for white. All the pieces are really doing something. And if we get to some kind of endgame, the bishop is scary. It's very good in the endgame, yes. But we will also have some targets because 1, 2, 3 pawn islands. No pawns can protect another pawn. They are very scattered and could be easy targets in some endgames we could reach from here. And also we have the king still in the center. And also we have a tempo because we are attacking the queen. And why can't the queen just come in and capture the rook? Well, if queen takes rook, white is going to have checkmate in one move with queen takes the bishop on e7. Okay, so we can't capture this rook. So we have to play, as black, we have to play queen to c7, getting out of the attack, but still protecting e7. So queen takes e7 is not going to be checkmate. And that's the position we have reached here. Let me do a quick bit of housekeeping. So if you're new to the channel, you may not know this chessboard, the chess-up board I'm using. And you can see it has this feature where it can light up the squares. And it's actually a very, very clever chessboard. It's the most advanced chessboard in the world. You can use this to play on chess.com. You just Bluetooth hook it up to your phone. It just works like a charm, and you can play games against people like you would normally on chess.com, but you're using a physical board instead, or you can play on Lichess if you want to. And when your opponent makes a move, it will display it for you like this, so you can make it, and you make some move and it will just transmit it to whoever you're playing against, and they will not even know that you're sitting with a chessboard like this. They will just think they're playing against somebody on chess.com or on Lichess. It has a bunch more features and it's super cool, and if you choose to buy it, of course there is a link in the description and you'll get 10% off, and you will support the channel as well, my channel here. So yeah, that was my housekeeping. Now let's get back to the game, Here Mishra played rook to c5, attacking the queen, being protected by his own queen. And here Ivanchuk had a chance to get back in the game. The position is pretty much even if he finds the correct move, and I will leave that as a challenge to you. That's right, you, the audience here, the viewer, if you can find the correct defense. I'm going to show you what Chucky did, and then you can see how that didn't work, and then you can maybe use that knowledge to try and to find the correct defense here, where you can probably hold a draw if you are playing at a very high level here. Chucky played queen back to d7, getting out of the attack of the rook, protecting e7, so there's no checkmate. And then there a repetition. Rook to d5 again, still it cannot be taken. Queen to c7 again. Okay. Rook to c5, attacking the queen. Again, there is a chance here. But Ivanchuk may be hoping for a draw, goes back to d8. And either he was just thinking, okay, it's going to be a draw, he's going to play rook d5, and he will be happy against with a draw against me. I'm Vasilly Ivanchuk, former world rapid champion, legendary player, played some of the most beautiful games that has ever been played. I've been world number 2 for a number of years. He will be happy with a draw. No. Mishra was not happy with the draw. He did not play rook d5, gaining the draw with the threefold repetition here. Absolutely not. Instead, he played an ultra subtle move. It's a very, very nice move. Very patient, I would say. Very mature. Very, like he was not in a rush. He could get the draw against this super high-rated opponent and his legend, and or he could say, okay, I've been attacking, sacrificing. What can I do to make more sacrificial ideas and attack more? But he played this queen f3 move. That's very impressive, I think. So bishop cannot capture the rook because of the pin. The queen is now attacking h5. It's attacking the rook. It's attacking f6, so you could maybe come and capture f6. Remember, the queen, the bishop cannot come in and capture it. It's threatening to come to c6 with a check, so it's this queen f3 move just does so much. And Ivanchuk was thinking, okay, I can't have you come in and capture f6. So if I have to prevent that, I'm going to have to make sure that this bishop is not pinned. So I'm going to play king to f8. So now if you come in and capture, there will be a huge blunder. I can then recapture. But earlier, you may remember that I was thinking about this h5 pawn. Could become a target, could be a weakness. And indeed, rook takes pawn, backed up by the queen now. This is threatening rook takes rook. So Ivanchuk plays rook takes rook himself, and of course recapture. Queen takes h5, threatening to come to h8 with checkmate. Ivanchuk had a plan here. It was to go to g7, defending all these entry squares. Now the queen cannot checkmate alone, and Mishra was maybe talking to his pieces, and the rook was a little unhappy. It wanted to join the attack. So rook to e3, threatening the devastating rook g3. And Ivanchuk was saying, well, I have unpinned my bishop. I'm going to defend that with bishop to d6. You cannot come to g3. I will come in and capture you there, and having a winning position. Now we see just very cold, perfect technique. Mishra played the rest of the game with only top moves from the engines. That's not to say that he was cheating. That is to say that he is very good and played very precise here and closed out the game. And you can absolutely mess this up as white. I'm sure I would have lost this. Like I would have absolutely have lost it against Ivanchuk, but even just playing against somebody mildly stronger than myself, I would not be very confident here. But Mishra, he could calculate everything here. And the first thing is he's going to play queen to g5, and that's check. So you could go to the h file, but rook to h3 would be checkmate. So that doesn't work, so you have to go back to f8. Now, the rook, instead of infiltrating via g3, the rook can infiltrate via h3. Threatening, devastating rook to h8. The king will have to move, and we win the queen. It's going to be easy to win the game if we win the queen. Therefore, the king has to get out of the way. So the king goes to e7, not to e8. We would still have rook h8. So therefore, king to e7. So how do we continue from here? You have to do it the right way in order to take this home. The right way is to first throw a check on e4. It's all very, very precise. Now the king cannot go back to f8 because rook h8, check, king would have to then go to g7, and then we win the queen. At the very least, going to be quite easy to win from there. You could contemplate playing bishop to d5, but it would be pinned there, and then pawn to f4. The bishop could not move, and we would win the bishop, and would be pretty easy to win there as well. And by process of elimination, then king to d7 is the only move. And so the queen was doing some attack over here on the king side, but now it's going to the queen side with queen to b7 check. Just massaging black's position until the pieces are in the exact correct configuration to close out the game. So you cannot block with the bishop. If you try to block with the bishop, rook here, check, you will win the queen again. You cannot block with the queen, because then the queen will no longer defend the rook on a8. Queen takes rook, will be winning. So the king has to go back now to e8. And how do you win? So many chess games have been decided on f7. But are you going to play rook h7 now, so that queen f7 is going to be checkmate? That's not a good idea. Because if you play rook h7, then watch out for this check. Can you see that? You cannot go out here with the king because of the queen, so you would have to go to b1, and then there's checkmate in 1. Maybe you can find it yourself. So that would actually lose the game on the spot. Rook h7 loses the game on the spot. So you have to massage, and Mishra was massaging the position just absolutely perfectly with rook h8, forcing bishop f8, taking away the dangerous check on f4, and then after having massaged this back, helped Ivanchuk put the pieces up for the next game. Now he goes to h7. Now, how are you going to defend f7? There's only one way, and that is bishop to e7. And of course, you could hope for a draw. Maybe your opponent, if you are defending this as black, would not find the correct continuation. I will not count on that if you're playing Mishra, but because like maybe it's just going to be a repetition, rook h8, bishop, and the rook goes back and forth a number of times, and it will be a draw. But we are just having like this two-pronged attack, like we're just attacking from both sides. And let's throw in this last check, queen c6 check. So now what? There are two legal moves. You could block with the queen d7, then you're no longer defending the rook, so queen takes rook, and absolutely crushing position. Or you could play king f8, and what's the problem here? There's actually a nice way to close out the game. It's with a very temporary queen sacrifice. Queen takes rook on a8. This pins the queen, so there's only really, the queen can't try to make some attack against the king or anything, because it exposes the king, so queen takes queen. And what is the point of all this? It's just a very clean way to get to the winning endgame with rook to h8. The king has only one move. King to g7, rook takes a8. In actuality, this position here is pretty easily winning, particularly at the grandmaster level. Why would that be? It's because I'm not going to show all the variations or anything. I'm just going to say this dark squared bishop is in a way like the rook. It can move along along some certain lines, diagonals here, as long as it for as many moves as it, for as many squares as it wants to. But it can only ever be on the dark squares, so it can only attack half of the chessboard, meaning that the rook, which can also move as long as it wants, as many squares as it wants, but it can attack every single square, so it's at least twice as good as the bishop. And then we have 6 pawns versus 3 pawns, and all white really has to do, like if you are if you are being very methodical about it, you're just putting all your pieces on light squares, so the bishop can never attack them, and you're just going to clean up. You're going to capture this pawn. If you notice in this position here, there's no way to actually defend this pawn. So let's say that, okay, we attack h, okay, then what would do it? Are we maybe going, I don't know, here maybe, but there's no way to get to this pawn in time, and we are going to win this pawn as well as white. And what does that mean? It means that there are 3 connected passed pawns here, and they are going to march down the board. We can use 20 moves on that if we want to. Like we are in no, as white, in no rush at all. We're just going to take it very slowly. If black made some kind of threat, we're just going to defend against the threat with our superior forces, and then we're going to make 1, 2, 3 new queens if we want to, and checkmate. It's not going to be hard. And that is why, if we rewind the game a bit, after queen to c6, Vasilly Ivanchuk resigned the game. That's the story of how I became aware of Abhimanyu Mishra. And that's the whole video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I will see you in the next video.